Ayo, remember Rock Lee vs Congo in that one Naruto movie? Nah? What about Rock Lee vs Shira? Granted, this was a filler fight but was low-key pretty well produced, and if you don't remember any of these, surely you remember Drunken Lee fighting like prime Jackie Chan against Kimimaro, right? Outside of one specific Rock Lee fight, a lot of what his character gets up to is nowhere near as significant and climactic. He does have some really good character moments from time to time, like the entire 8 Gate saga where he throws the alley-oop for Guy to dunk on Madara. That was dope, but 9 times out of 10, the people's favorite moment from Lee, and the one that sticks out the most, happens in the first 50 odd episodes of Naruto. And this moment and overall fight for sure had a massive impact on the Naruto franchise, and it's the one part of the story that defines Rock Lee for basically any fan of Naruto. Out of the entire story of Naruto, 700 goddamn chapters, this right here is Rock Lee's peak, if you want to call it that. And even though this takes place not even 10% into the grand story Naruto is, it's arguably one of the story's most iconic segments, and it's a stretch that quickly changed people's outlook on Lee and Naruto as a whole, turning this random bushy brow green jumpsuit broccoli looking at ninja into one of the most endearing characters shonen has ever produced. An absolute legend in every sense, and after revisiting OG Naruto and covering my favorite fight in part 1, I just knew I had to get into this Rock Lee fight as well, because even though Naruto vs Sasuke is where the story peaks before Shippuden, this Rock Lee fight, specifically Rock Lee vs Gaara, is unanimously known as the most iconic fight in OG Naruto. A universal great that can show to pretty much anyone, even people that ain't too familiar with Naruto, and they will recognize it ASAP. It's insane how much recognition this fight has received since Kishimoto dropped it, and what's even more wild is the fact that the moment from Lee that is just etched in everyone's minds isn't even a special move that he pulls off. Don't get me wrong, what he does in the actual fight itself is also legendary, but the it moment from this entire battle with Gaara is quite simply Rock Lee getting the go ahead to let loose and him dropping 2 leg weights on the ground. 2 leg weights that fooled every damn person in that arena, including us watching, because the damage they caused was insane. You had the entire supporting cast downplaying it, saying what's that trash gonna do against Gaara, then boom, everyone's jaws on the ground. Lee, whose entire character revolves around proving his strength, just shuts up everyone here, then proceeds to completely blitz Gaara. All that hype from Gaara's squad calling this fight to be a stomp, then Rock Lee pulls out something like this. Legendary stuff, and was the perfect start to this death battle. Aside from being dope as fuck, looking back on it, the fact that Rock Lee whooped Sasuke and Naruto earlier in this arc whilst nerfed with the weights makes this even more crazy. He had Naruto out cold with like 2 moves and was ready to body Sasuke if that turns to lane walk in. Rock Lee easily violated these 2, but at this point his op Gaara was miles ahead of Naruto and Sasuke, allowing Lee to go all out, and this was the result. Lee dropped the weights, and before you can even deep what's going on, Gaara is getting comboed from all angles by Lee. Rock Lee really said, screw all jutsu, I'ma put all my skill points into straight hands, and showed him that he ain't no fluke, cooking the strongest genin about for fun. The payoff in this very brief moment was so good, with Lee just subverting everyone's expectations of him, and Rock Lee's fighting style here, despite being basic as hell in comparison to others like Neji and Sasuke, is just too sick. No massive fireballs or 8 trigrams or rotations, just pure mastery over the basics with blitzing speed, power and finesse. He had them fundamentals down pat, showing that he's a genius in his own right, and this moment gets even better with Might Guy in the crowd being Rock Lee's one-man cheering squad in this fight. The start of this battle could not have been better, but of course the inevitable happens with this monster opponent he's fighting hitting Lee with a quick response. Bro, look at this guy's face. Rock Lee gotta be the most humble guy trying to make it up the ranks, but unfortunately he gotta go up against this motherfucker right here. The OG crash out in anime and possibly the most evil character in part 1. That scene before we got into these tuning exam battles was insane, and to this day is still clear in my memory. This was after Orochimaru pulled up and caused some havoc, and was Gaara's squad versus a couple hidden rain ninja that made the silly mistake of thinking Gaara was an easy lick. slick. They of course got slammed, but the way Gaara did them was nasty. It was like watching a brutality from Mortal Kombat play out. Gaara caught bro in a sand coffin and completely eviscerated him. He made it rain blood just like he said, and even used the guy's own ninja tool as an umbrella to shield himself, which was disrespectful as hell. Gaara was a menace back in OG, and Kiba's reaction here is exactly how I was feeling watching this. Gaara was a demon, and even though this team fully surrendered, he wasn't done being evil and ran it back with the sand coffin, killing off the other two ninja. All he needed was the scroll, which they happily released, but that simply wasn't enough for him. Gaara could care less about anyone that got in his way, and at times it looked like bro was ready to take out his own teammates as well, which says a lot about the opponent Rock Lee was up against here. This guy had no sense of morality, and if Lee slipped up one time, he was beyond cooked, which is why bro went all out here against Gaara. He was up against the most evil genin there has ever been, who just so happened to be blessed with broken abilities that allowed him to tank that speedy blitz from Lee earlier, and even the primary lotus. This primary lotus move was crazy, but even that ain't do nothing to Gaara, so Lee had to come up with something truly special. All that hard work was cool and all, but he truly had to show that he wanted to win here no matter who he was up against, leading us into that time within the fight where Lee left it all on the line and used the 8 gate technique. Well, obviously not the 8 gates because Gaara would have been pummeled in a second, but 5 gates of straight pain on Lee's body that allowed him to unlock this awesome strength and speed. If you don't remember how the gates work, it's essentially Lee breaking his chakra limits, allowing him to exert more out of his body. It's a technique that has a massive downside to it with how much strain it causes on the body, but the effects are brazy. Lee turns red and starts to become terrifying himself with how damn powerful he becomes. Earlier in the fight, he was insanely fast and explosive, but this was something else, and bro was cooking Gaara for fun. Gaara went from child prodigy to a punching bag, and this technique from Lee and how he was able to somewhat master it made him look like a genius in his own right. Bro had Kakashi pulling out the Sharingan, trying to analyze what the hell is going on, and the simple explanation was Rock Lee is just that guy at this point and was bopping Gaara everywhere. That reverse lotus he hits Gaara with is something that gets me hyped even till today, 20 years after this ad, and this beatdown overall was generational stuff. Lee really cooked his ass and went all out, leaving nothing behind, but sadly it of course wasn't enough. Rock Lee was special, but Gaara was unfortunately more special, somehow tanking that combo from Lee and also having the strength to get after him. This Gaara guy is just a demon, and even though I was hate watching, hoping bro would lose and Lee could prevail just like Sasuke, Neji, pretty much all his rivals, he took that L and suffered crazy everlasting effects that rendered him retired for a little while. The way he went out was sad as hell because bro was so close to taking that dub, but Gaara was just too broken. This fight had so many iconic moments that will be talked about forever, with the 8 gate stuff, the weights, and even the way this fight ended. Guy Sensei stops Gaara from damn near killing Lee, which rendered him disqualified, but Lee was still there ready to scrap with one hand facing Gaara and the other one completely broken. Rock Lee, even whilst unconscious, still had some more smoke to give out, and just like the other characters in anime, this I'm still standing moment is way too legendary. This fight had it all, from the iconic scenes to crazy action sequences to beautiful animation. Everything was A tier or above, and it's crazy how much effect this brief 2-episode fight had on the entire Naruto franchise. I still see tweets and videos to this day of Rock Lee vs Gaara, and after watching it again, I can see why it's talked about as much as it is. Gaara's infamy in part 1 Naruto is all timer level stuff, and it's crazy how he continues to get even more devious in his next fight with Sasuke and then Naruto. Bro was the epitome of evil along with Orochimaru and Frieza for me back in the day, which made his switch up to the good side even more wild to me. Rock Lee doesn't get much screen time and moments throughout Shippuden, but his character journey is still one of my favorites from Naruto. The way Kishimoto cooks with characters in such a brief period of time is crazy and deserves a lot of praise. Rock Lee is of course the standout, but he does it with so many other characters as well who quickly end up becoming fan favorites. I love revisiting old fights from the big three because it makes me appreciate them more, and Rock Lee vs Gaara, just like back in the day, was incredible. If you guys enjoyed hearing me yap a bit, leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in my next one. Peace.